About 14,000 years ago, two people were buried together in what's now Germany, and tucked in carefully beside them was a puppy. Here's the strange part. That puppy was sick and useless. It couldn't hunt, it couldn't guard, it couldn't do one single helpful thing. And these people, living in the Ice Age, when just staying alive took everything you had, kept it alive anyway, for months. Why? Why would half-starving humans pour food and care into a dog that was no use to anyone? That little grave is hiding one of the strangest love stories on Earth. So let's dig it up. To understand that puppy, you have to understand what it actually was, because deep down, it wasn't a pet, it was a wolf. And so, by the way, is the dog probably lying near you right now. The one with the embarrassing name, asleep on its back with its tongue hanging out. Genetically, that's a wolf. You feed it, you let it on the furniture, you've looked it dead in the eyes and used a voice you would never use in public. But rewind far enough, and its ancestors were the most dangerous thing in the dark. And there are nearly 1 billion of them on Earth right now, curled up on beds and trotting down alleys on every continent there is. Every last one of them started out as that monster in the dark. Picture the world tens of thousands of years ago, deep in the last ice age. No houses, no farms, no towns. Humans moving in small bands, a few dozen people at most, across a frozen landscape, chasing food, losing more hunts than they won. And out past the glow of the campfire, eyes, wolves, bigger than you, faster than you, able to smell you long before you'd ever see them. To an Ice Age human, that sound at night meant exactly one thing: danger. So that's the real mystery. Out of every animal on the whole planet, how did that one, the nightmare in the dark, end up snoring on your couch? And the honest answer is, we still aren't completely sure. Scientists argue about it to this day. Some say it happened 40,000 years ago, some say 15. Some say it started in Siberia, some say East Asia, some say Europe, and some think it happened more than once, in different places, totally independently. We can't even point to the wolf that started it, because that exact population of wolves is extinct. The wolves alive today aren't our dog's grandparents. They're more like distant cousins from the branch that stayed wild. But while the where and the when stay blurry, the how is a great story. And it probably starts with garbage. Because wherever a band of humans ate, they left a mess behind them. Bones, scraps, bits of hide and gristle nobody wanted. To a wolf, a human camp wasn't a threat to attack. It was a free meal that walked around and kept restocking itself. Risky, but very tempting. So the wolves edged closer. And this is the key to the entire story, because not every wolf edged closer the same way. The bold, aggressive ones pushed their luck, got too close, and got a spear for it. Gone. The terrified ones never dared go near the food at all, so they stayed hungry, and hungry animals don't raise many pups. But a few wolves landed right in the sweet spot. Calm enough to sneak in for the leftovers, chill enough not to get themselves killed doing it. Those wolves ate well. They survived. They had puppies, and those puppies inherited the same easygoing nerve. Nobody chose this. Nobody trained anybody. Generation after generation, the calm ones got fed and the jumpy ones got weeded out, until fear itself slowly got bred away. Researchers have a name for this that flips Darwin on his head. Not survival of the fittest, survival of the friendliest. And if that sounds way too tidy to be true, get this. Somebody actually ran the experiment, on purpose, with foxes. In 1959, a Soviet scientist named Dmitri Belyaev basically tried to speed-run evolution. He took silver foxes, the wild, snapping, take-your-finger-off kind, and set one single rule. Every generation, his team tested every fox, and only the calmest, friendliest 10% were allowed to breed. No training, no taming, just this. The gentle ones get to be parents, and the rest don't. You'd assume something like that takes centuries. It didn't. Within 6 generations, some of the foxes were already acting like dogs, wagging, whimpering for attention, licking the hands of the people testing them. A few generations after that, a big share of the babies were being born already wanting belly rubs, like somebody's pet that had never spent a day in the wild. And then came the part that really rattled everyone. The foxes didn't just start acting cuter, They started looking cuter. Their ears flopped over, their snouts got shorter, their tails curled up. Splotches of white showed up in their coats. Nobody bred them for a single one of those things. The scientists were only ever picking the friendly ones. The cute showed up on its own, completely uninvited. Turns out, this combo pops up all over the animal kingdom. Pick an animal for being calm, and over time you tend to get softer faces, smaller jaws, floppy ears, and patchy fur thrown in as a bonus. Scientists call the whole bundle domestication syndrome, which means those first friendly Ice Age wolves were probably already going soft and round in the face on their own, long before any human looked at one and thought, "That one's mine." So picture it. Some of the wolves hanging around the camp are now a little smaller, a little softer, a little less terrifying than the ones still out in the wild, halfway between wolf and dog, and nothing anybody had a name for yet. A brand new kind of animal, taking shape right there beside the fire, while not one person in that camp had the faintest idea they were watching it being born. And people caught on fast that these animals were useful to keep around. A wolf hears what you can't. It smells trouble coming from impossibly far off. When a predator crept toward camp, the wolves bristled first. When strangers turned up, the wolves knew before anybody. Your ancestors basically got a burglar alarm that ran on table scraps. But it went a lot further than safety. And this is where the story gets bigger than most people ever realize. A human with dogs didn't just sleep easier. They hunted better. They tracked better. They found prey faster and lost fewer fights with the dark. Some anthropologists think dogs handed us such a huge advantage that the humans who teamed up with them simply outlasted the humans who didn't. So our oldest four-legged friend may have done more than keep us company. It may have helped us spread across the entire planet. Put another way, the reason your ancestors made it through the Ice Age at all might be the same goofball that's currently licking its own leg on the rug. That's also why the dog, not the sheep, not the cow, not the chicken, holds the title of the very first animal humans ever domesticated. Dogs were curled up next to us before farming was even an idea, before writing, before cities, before metal, before a single brick of a single pyramid. Everything you think of as civilization came afterward. The dog was already here. And when we finally did invent farming, the dogs adapted all over again, just to stay with us. Wolves are built to live on meat. But once humans started growing grain and living on starchy food, the dogs hanging around us slowly evolved to handle it. Today, a dog's body makes roughly 7 times more of the enzyme you need to break down starch than a wolf's does. Your dog can hoover up a dropped piece of toast and feel great. A wolf? Not so much. There are even a few old breeds, like the husky, from places where nobody ever farmed, that still digest their food more like their wild cousins do. The dinner menu literally rewrote their DNA. Then the bond got stranger still, because it stopped being only practical and went emotional. When you lock eyes with your dog, and your dog holds your gaze, both of your brains release a chemical called oxytocin. It's the same warm, glued-together feeling that washes over a parent staring at their newborn. Researchers in Japan measured it directly. You look at the dog, you both get a little hit of it. You melt and pet it, the dog gets more, which makes you melt even more. A tiny chemical loop running in a circle between two completely different species. And when they tried the very same thing with wolves, the wolves just wouldn't play. They don't do the soft, lingering eye contact. That whole bonding loop is something dogs evolved aimed straight at us. They even remodeled their own faces to pull it off. Put a dog's head next to a wolf's, and they're almost identical, except for one spot, right above the eyes. Dogs have a tiny muscle there that wolves basically don't, and it does exactly one job. It lifts the inner eyebrow into that pleading, slightly sad look, the one that makes their eyes go huge and babyish and instantly makes you want to give them anything they ask for. Puppy dog eyes. It's a real physical muscle, and wolves simply don't have it. Dogs grew it in the blink of an evolutionary eye, because over thousands of years, The ones who could pull that face got fed more, got kept more, got loved a little more. Your dog isn't giving you that look by accident. It's running a program it evolved specifically to hack your heart. And it works. You know it works. Now, before this turns all the way into a greeting card, the honest other half of the story. Once humans started deciding exactly what dogs should look like, we sometimes chose things that are flat-out cruel to the dog. We bred bulldogs with heads so big and hips so narrow that most of them can't even be born naturally anymore. More than 8 out of every 10 bulldog litters have to be delivered by C-section. We bred pugs for those flat, squashed faces, and now they're around 50 times more likely than a normal dog to fight for every breath. We bred dachshunds long and low because we thought it looked adorable, and handed them spines 10 to 12 times more likely to rupture. We fell in love with a look and forgot to ask the animal how it felt about it. And yet, under all of that, the wolf never fully left the building. You can catch it if you watch. When your dog spins around 3 times before flopping down, that's an ancient reflex for stamping down grass it hasn't slept in for 10,000 years. When it buries a treat behind the couch cushion, that's a wolf stashing food for a leaner day. When its legs twitch and paddle in its sleep, somewhere in that dream, it is running flat out across a world that no longer exists. The tiniest, shakiest little teacup dog still has a tiny Ice Age predator tucked away inside it. Here's something the cozy version of this story always leaves out, though. Most dogs on Earth do not sleep in beds. Of all those dogs, the large majority aren't pampered house pets at all. They're street dogs, free-ranging, living near people and living off our garbage, doing almost exactly what their ancestors did at the edge of that very first campfire. The buffet just looks like a dumpster now. The original bargain, scraps in exchange for closeness, never actually ended. But for some of them, somewhere along the way, it turned into something far past a bargain. And that's the thing no other domestic animal ever got from us. We tamed cows for their meat, sheep for their wool, chickens for their eggs. Every one of them was a deal, something they gave us in return for being kept. The dog is the only animal we pulled close before it could give us anything at all. The only one we ended up keeping, in the end, just for the company, which is what makes that grave back in Germany hit so hard. Remember the puppy, 7 months old. As a baby, it caught a disease that kills most dogs in under 3 weeks, and by every rule, it should have died. It didn't. It held on for months. There is only one way that happens. Somebody kept a sick, useless, non-working puppy warm and clean and fed through round after round of illness in the dead of the Ice Age, when keeping yourself alive was already almost more than a person could manage. That puppy couldn't hunt. It couldn't guard. It couldn't earn its keep in any way at all, and they cared for it anyway. And when it finally died, they didn't toss it aside. They laid it in the ground between 2 of their own people, like family. That is the oldest evidence we have of love with absolutely nothing in it for us. No master plan, no clever inventor, no tribe sitting around the fire going, "You know what we should build? A loyal little animal that cries when we leave the room." Nobody designed the dog. There were just a few wolves brave enough to come near the flames, a pile of leftover bones, and tens of thousands of years of 2 species, slowly, quietly choosing each other. So glance back over at the wolf in your house, fast asleep, with no idea any of this ever happened. No memory of the spears, the foxes, the frozen camps, or a puppy buried in Germany 14,000 years ago. It has no clue it's the final page of the strangest love story on the planet. It just knows it wants to be near you. And after 30,000 years, that might be the most astonishing part of the whole thing. Out of everything it could possibly be, it still chooses the fire.